don't want to say have. It's interesting. We don't have addictive personalities for the things we're not addicted to.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense. I'm not gonna say I'm addicted to alcohol, but we drink alcohol like
Right.
4 or 5 days a week.
True, but I also will go for a week without it.
I'll take a break too, but it's because we're in the business.
Right.
Even like
I tell people I drink for a living. That's actually when I get my physical every year. The doctor's always saying, you should probably cut it down. I get my liver enzymes checked every year. I'm fine. But I tell them,
Are you fine?
I drink for a living. It's part of what I actually do for a business.
Welcome to Bar Business, the podcast that is also a drinking game.
Cheers.
Cheers. So, this podcast is a drinking game, and like any good drinking game, there are some rules.
Right. And first and foremost, when we drink, you drink.
You drink. Rule number 1, we drink, you drink. Rule number 2, if you say COVID or mention the news, you have to drink.
Right. Cheers.
Cheers. And rule number 3, if someone is telling a story that is not fit for print and we have to interrupt them, that's a social.
Right. And I'm not saying that we have a tendency to ramble, but it might happen once or twice.
Well, I watched last week's episode. I think I cut you off like 4 times, but you didn't cut me off at all.
Oh, all right.
But that's part of our, you let me ramble.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I think you're listening, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, 50-50.
Yeah. Because I tend to say some outlandish shit. That's kind of part of my brand. Yeah. I like to just kind of like flush shit down the toilet and like see if it comes out the other end. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm going to stop you right there as we move on
social.
to our
Thank you for interrupting. I shouldn't have told people that. Now they'll think I'm bullshitting them all the time. No.
So today we are drinking old fashions. Right?
Yes.
One of our favorites, both of us. We put it at all of our bars. So I think it's a great cocktail. It stood the test of time. It has a sort of an interesting story. There's a bunch of different recipes for it, a bunch of different permutations. Depending on who you ask, people may make it in a wide variety of ways. Looking at you, Wisconsin. I don't know what's going on up there with your fruit salad and Sprite, but it's still delicious. It's just very different than the way we make it here.
Well, wait. Like a lot of these cocktails, there is a dive bar old-fashioned.
Right.
And then there is a classic old-fashioned.
Right. And so what we try to do is execute a classic old-fashioned. And the old-fashioned takes its name from the actual definition of a cocktail. So the word cocktail first appeared in print in 1806. And it was defined as spirit, sugar, bitters, and water. So spirits meaning hard alcohol. And the water comes from the ice melting as you chill down the cocktail. So it's just those 4 component parts make a classic old-fashioned. And if you start, gusting it up with fancy syrups or other, spirits, then it's no longer an old-fashioned. It's a new-fashioned cocktail in a sense.
Exactly. Yeah. And I also heard the story that it was being made that way in the 19th century and then went out of fashion. And then people would try to say, hey, can I get that whiskey the old-fashioned way?
Right. Well, actually, if you go back to 1862, Jerry Thomas, the first celebrity bartender, published a recipe for a cocktail in the old-fashioned style. He actually made his with gin. You didn't see the whiskey really coming into it until the 1880s. But we sort of look back to that as being a seminal moment in what defined an old-fashioned.
Last night, these girls were ordering gin with bitters as a shot.
Yep.
And I wasn't mad at it.
Yeah, I'm here for it. All right. Well.
Wait, but so the other sort of old-fashioned that you see if you're not at a cocktail bar is like a slice of orange and a neon red cherry.
Yes.
And like a sugar packet that is torn open and dumped. And then they muddle it in the glass and then top it with ice, fill it with whiskey, and then shake it.
Yes.
And that is maybe an old-fashioned that you would see at the Vig Bar, but not an old fashioned that you would see at the Mirror.
Right, but as long as it gets you drunk and you enjoy the flavor, there's no wrong way to drink your whiskey, I suppose.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. We actually had, before we decided to do old fashions, we were going to do aviations.
Oh, great one. We'll have to save that for another week, though.
Well, but the bar's closed, so we forgot we didn't have any citrus. So, drinking on the fly. Cheers to you, Jeff.
Cheers. And cheers to you listening at home.
God. All right, our next segment is called What We Did Last Week. We opened a pop-up.
We did indeed.
Yeah.
Beach bar pop-up.
Beach bar pop-up, man.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool.
It very is.
I really like it. So if you're from the D.C. area or if you live around here, and I'm sure it's the same if you go to the Jersey Shore or something, but around here, a lot of the young kids go to Dewey. And at Dewey Beach, there's a beach bar.
Yeah.
And it serves shit drinks in plastic cups and like burgers and fries, orange crushes.
Yeah. It's not a stuffy affair. It's almost like a house party in an old like Ocean City beach house.
It's like on a dock maybe, or like they might have like drunken canoe races. They do have that.
Yeah.
They have this thing at BJ's on the Bay, shout out, and I think that one's in Ocean City. But we had a house there one year, and all the bars all the beach bars send a 2-person staff to this canoe race.
Oh, wow.
And so let's say it's 6 bars, and they're 2 people in the canoe, and you have to go around this sort of like tall grass area. And then when you get around, you have to jump out of the canoe, chug a beer, and then switch places. So one person's in the front and back. If you know how to canoe, it's like a steering situation. And then you have to do that 6 times while chugging beers.
That sounds great.
Yeah, and then like the winner gets like the glory of being the champion for the year.
I like that a lot.
So yeah, we were inspired by that and did this beach bar pop-up at a famous bar called Rumors. I think it was called Rumors for a long time. Now it's called District Anchor.
Right, but it's been there for 50 years. I mean, it's an institution in D.C.
Yeah, and it'll always be rumors to us,
right?
I think. But yeah, so the long story short is that we know the owner. We asked if he was opening because we wanted to go drink there. And he was like not ready to open yet for whatever reason. And we said, hey, can we do a pop-up for the summer?
Yeah.
Our bar's closed. We're podcasting out of it. Welcome to the Mirror. And so we said, hey, man, can we pop up at your bar? So there's a huge outdoor deck that's street level.
Yep.
So you don't have to go upstairs, which is nice. And then...
yeah, big shout out to Pat. Thanks, brother. We were having a great time. We appreciate you letting us host this little pop-up.
Yeah. So we popped up this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, from 5 to midnight.
Right.
And I think it's been cool. It's weird. I mean, it's definitely different because of all these regulations.
Right. All the tables are spaced at least 6 feet apart and whatnot. So it does change the vibe in some ways, but there's still that kernel of what we had before that's there, where it's just, you can see people again, and it's a social setting, and that's really been great for my soul. I feel so much happier.
I feel so much happier. Oh my God. Well, so we cleaned the place, sanitized everything.
Yep.
The servers and bartenders wear masks. It's interesting because you can sit at the bar if there's no bartender, or you can have a bartender but no one can sit at the bar. So it's sort of a weird thing, but luckily at this bar, there's a back bar that we've been making all the drinks at, and then we let customers sit. They're still distance.
Right. We can maintain a sterile environment where we're producing all of the beverages and then allow people to actually sit at a bar. And, except for the fact that there's not a bartender walking around behind the bar, it's every bit the experience.
But you know what? You do miss something without the bartender.
Yeah.
Because the bartender is right there. And if you want a drink or something and you have to flag down your server, that's more difficult.
Right.
Than getting the bartender's attention.
Well, something that's unique about Rumors that I think actually helps make it work is that the bar has seating on sort of 2 sides facing each other. There's a part of the bar opens up to the outside, part of it is inside. So you actually have guests seated, maybe 8 feet across from each other, but facing each other. And so the conversations I've seen strangers engage in just as they sit across from each other at a bar is really great.
So the beach bar has been, it's been great.
Yeah.
And one of the things, just to explain what a pop-up is and what the beach bar pop-up is, we're doing orange crushes, grapefruit crushes. We're doing strawberry margarita and pina colada frozen drinks, and then you can mix them
Yep.
together, and that's a Miami Vice. And then we also have 4 snack bar items. We have a beach burger, fish tacos, vegan hot dogs, and boardwalk fries.
Yeah.
And and that's it. And what we kind of say to people, and people have been cool about it, but what we kind of say is, hey, listen, we're not open all the time. We have limited hours. We have limited seating. We can't pack this place like it normally would be. So we also can't have everything in the kitchen because it'll go bad. You don't go through stuff fast enough.
Right.
One of the things on the menu is at District Anchor is oysters and clams. We can't have raw bar because if it doesn't sell on our Thursday, Friday, Saturday pop-up, it'll go bad. And you start being wasteful and things. So we're doing the beach bar stuff. It's really cool. We've got Chef Andrew Chu of Momo Yakitori.
Yep.
His restaurant's closed too because of COVID. And drink. So he's doing the beach bar food, but so it's like elevated. It's pretty great. And then Jeff's doing, under his direction, we are doing the all those crushes and smoothies. So it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's been great, and the feedback has been really good. The one thing that I keep hearing over and over again from people is they come in and they don't quite get that it's a pop-up, that it's limited, and they're expecting full restaurant services it may have been before all of this happened.
Right.
And so people are used to being able to call for things they don't see on the menu that are just staples.
Right.
You want a glass of red wine or whatever it might be.
Yeah, we have no wine.
And we just don't have any besides the sangria, and because we're doing such a limited menu.
Right.
And so, you try and explain to people, but people have been really understanding. And the one thing everyone keeps saying is, we're just glad you're open. People are just glad that there's some place to go.
Yep. We're just glad you're open. And we're just glad we're open.
Right.
This has been tough on everyone, so we're glad to be back. Come see us. We'll be back at the Beach Bar on Thursday. This podcast drops Wednesday. We're recording. Today's Sunday. We're going to take a little break.
Yep.
And we'll be back Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Are we going to do Saturday? That's the 4th of July.
Well, we'll have to think about that.
All right, well, that's a conversation for off camera.
I don't know. That's a good question. At People's, we did, that's like our busiest day of the year usually.
Really?
Yeah. But it's it's kind of similar. We'll talk about that off the air. All right, well, let's move on to frequently asked questions.
Okay.
Jeff, what is a frequently asked question, and what is the one that you get that you're going to feature this week?
The frequently asked question that I get all the time is, can you play my song?
We got that last night a couple times.
Oh, yeah. And so, there's a wide variety of bars, and I don't want to say that this is canon everywhere. But for the bars that we run, we make a playlist, and we feel that that's a really integral part of the atmosphere that we provide. And so we want to have a consistent, controlled atmosphere that people can come to, they know what to expect. And for us, that's really 90s hip-hop. And so someone comes in, I get that you might think that Taylor Swift is a musical genius and that's your favorite song.
Maybe she is.
Right, and I'm not here to dispute or confirm that. But I think that everyone thinks they have the best taste, right? Everyone thinks that everyone else is going to be so impressed by this song and go, oh my God, thank you for exposing me to this. I promise you, you do not all have the best taste in music. I don't have the best taste in music. I have my taste and you have yours. And, well, we opened a bar and this is what we decided to play. So just enjoy it.
And for me, as like the creative director role, I think that the bar and the music go together. So at our kind of retro underground cocktail bar, we play a lot of 90s hip hop. At the Mirror, I think of it as old school hip hop, which to me continues into the 2000s. And if there's somebody like a Jay-Z who transcends, like, I'm not only going to play his 90s albums, I think we should be able to play his, the good newer, if the newer stuff is good, we play it. And then at the Beach Bar, we're playing the Mirror playlist because it's a pop-up, but, there might be a whole other playlist that we put together.
Absolutely.
So, and it's interesting because the other thing about playing the one song is, or even like two songs or something, it's that then someone has to start managing the song selection. It's like a DJ. If there's a DJ and you want to ask him to play your song, go ahead. But if it's a playlist, even if we stop the playlist and start it over, then you might start hearing duplicate songs. Our playlist is like 50 hours long.
Right.
So you only duplicate a song once every like 4 or 5 days.
Well, and oftentimes people will want you to plug their phone in, which means unplugging whatever else is plugged in, and then there's silence, and then there's the scratching sound of the aux cord being
Right.
pulled out,
Oh
and
my
it will
God.
kill a vibe so fast.
But it happens every single day we work.
Right.
People ask.
And
to
so, as a
play their
general
song.
rule, no, we will not play your song. I'm sorry. We are happy you're here, and we love everything about you, and it is nothing personal, and we aren't even judging you for asking us. But the answer is a hard no.
I was bartending at the Vig in downtown Manhattan, and it was a dive bar basically, and it was amazing. And people would ask to play their songs all the time, and I would do it sometimes, but it just. Yeah, anyway, my frequently asked question, it's not really a question, it's, I know the owner. And I know the owner, I don't really know what, usually the response to I know the owner is, me too.
Right.
Because the one thing I don't want is for anyone to recognize me as the owner. Like, Jeff, I don't know how you're feeling. I don't want to be recognized.
I would prefer to be incognito, because if you have a complaint, I would like you to find someone else to.
But also, it's not that we don't. I enjoy talking to people, but I like talking to people at the bar organically. If they find out I'm the owner, then the conversation changes, and it usually shifts to frequently asked questions, like how did you get in the bar business?
Right. When did this place open?
What's your favorite drink to make? And can you play my song?
Right.
So I like to just have real conversations with people, and you know what's funny too is that I think people want to own. A lot of people want to own a bar. It's like a thing. Like we did some polling. It's like 66% of people that drink dream of one day owning a bar, and it is cool to own a bar. It definitely is. But sometimes people will be like, "Oh, I know the owner," or they'll call me out. They'll be like, "I know Seth." And I'll be sitting right next to them and have no fucking idea who they are. And I just think that it's something that you hear a lot. People are always dropping that they know the owner, and they think that entitles them to free drinks or something.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the end game is. I think that it's not malicious. I think that
none of this is.
Yeah, but that you've now also just made a strange dynamic with whoever's taking care of you. Because you're like, oh, are they going to complain about me? Am I being
that's a good
extra
point.
watched or something? You've now just also made whoever's taking care of you uncomfortable.
That is a great point.
And we're all just here to hang out and have a good time together.
And if you watched last week's episode, we were talking about holding out the 20 and not waving your hands and making a scene. Telling a employee that you know their boss is the first way to have them not want to talk to you anymore. So, so don't say that you know the owner. Okay, so our next segment is called Trick of the Trade.
Yeah, these are just some insider tips for if you're going out to a bar or restaurant, ways to act like you've been there before.
Yeah, and frequently asked questions is sort of things that, not necessarily to avoid, but that are frequently asked and kind of signal that that maybe you're not a bar guy. Tricks of the trade are going to be things that are going to signal that you are.
Right.
And are going to kind of give the bartender a warm and fuzzy feeling about you and about serving you lots of drinks. So what's yours, Jeff?
So mine is when you go out to a place, order something off the menu. Right? If they hand you a list of things that they do well, and you choose one of those things, then you'll get something you'll probably be happy with. But if you walk in and you try to sort of modify things, I don't want this, or I want to substitute that, or can we do some other dish or some other cocktail, then...
Why are you even going to a restaurant if you're doing that? Make it at home, dude.
Right. But what you're doing is you're forcing this poor server to go back to the chef, who... All chefs are very bitter, angry people. All of them.
What?
Who is going to scream at this poor
Not Bitter
kid
Cliff.
and call you terrible names in the back of the kitchen. And then this poor server is going to come back out to you.
Oh, that chef is going to just start going after this dude.
Oh, this poor server. You have no idea what you're doing to them.
And that's the person making your food, by the way. You are pissing off the person in charge of preparing your food.
Right. And also, there's no one on this planet who knows how to make everything. It's just not possible. There's just too many permutations. So you run the risk of getting something that is not their forte, something that they are not particularly good at. And they will try to accommodate you, and you will get a substandard product. But if you get something that's been vetted by all of the partners, by the chefs, by the bartenders, whoever it is, and deemed good enough to be on the menu, then you're going to get a good product.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to back of house, which is the the cooks and the chefs and the dishwashers and everybody. The chef at a really, really nice restaurant has worked his entire career to put together this amazing kind of dish for you. And if you're going to go in there and ask him to change that, that is going to anger him.
Because it is insulting to him, because he feels like it is such a good product that should be appreciated. And what he hears when you ask for changes, nah, I can think of something better.
But so that's at a nice restaurant. If you're at like a TGI Fridays or something like that, the person that's creating the menu is no long gone. You've got a line cook who's probably making $12 to $15 an hour, and he knows how to make what's on the menu.
Right.
He's got the nachos down pat.
Corporate has trained him on these specific tasks.
But if you go in there and ask for something to be changed, I mean, you're really penalizing yourself. I mean, you're going to get a substandard product, and whoever's making this stuff is going to be like angry at you.
Right. And I think on the drink side of it, there's a little more wiggle room because there are such a wide variety of bars. And it's true that a lot of high-end cocktail bars will put a dealer's choice or some sort of thing like that.
Stop stealing my shit, bro. Damn. All right. But, yeah. High-end cocktail bars will put a dealer's choice or a bartender's choice. So that means it's on the menu.
Yeah.
But then if you're at a sub kind of, or a medium, a place that is not a high-end cocktail bar.
Right.
And you start asking for something like a last word, you're probably not going to get a very good cocktail.
Right, because ultimately, they probably don't know how to make every cocktail that's ever been created, because no one does. But hopefully, if it's a, good restaurant that's been around for a while, good bar, they've at least been trained on executing the cocktail list with precision. And so if you get those things, you'll get a well-made drink. If you make them go look in their iPhone in the back for what the recipe is for this cocktail they've never heard of before, there's a very small chance they're actually going to execute it at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's exactly right. And yeah, they have been trained, staff training on Sundays. They know how to make the strawberry mojito or whatever little cocktail they have on the menu. But if you start throwing them, and also those people that will try to one up.
Yeah, the stump the bartender is what we call it.
It's like gotcha media. They're like, oh, have you heard of tip.
I thought this was a real cocktail bar. I didn't know you didn't know how to make this cocktail on page 173 of this obscure cocktail manual published in 1892.
I mean, that sounds kind of like you, though, Jeff. You know not to challenge the bartender. Yeah. All right, well, so my trick of the trade is if it's busy, get a whiskey on the rocks.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much.
And, it's just that if the bartender is in the weeds and, things are going wrong, he's out of ice, there's people walking up to the bar. I was just in Vegas last week, and this bartender was getting his ass handed to him. And, it was all these weird regulations, and people were distancing, and he was wearing a mask, and people were walking up to the bar and taking to-go cocktails. All of this is not really, normal. So the guy was having a rough time. So I sat at the bar and sat there patiently for about 5 minutes. And he kind of looked at me, and I said, hey, man, when you get the chance, I'll do a Whiskey Rocks. I didn't even call it the brand.
Yeah.
Whiskey Rocks. Mm-hmm. And the dude just that second, we went like this and gave it to me. Oh. It took 7 seconds. He may have had 10 other cocktails to make, but because the Whiskey Rocks was so easy and such a just easy thing, I can't stress the ease enough that it made him happy, and he served me first.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't realize that bartenders they have finite resources in terms of time and energy in a shift. There's only so many hours, so many minutes, so many seconds. And it's a unique situation to be a bartender in that you don't control the pacing of your labor, that the guest actually gets to determine. And if someone wants to command your attention and stare at the menu for 30 seconds or turn around to their friend behind them to ask them what they want or order one drink at a time when they have a party of 4, then what that will do is that will completely slow down a bartender. And so
I hate the ordering one drink at a
I
time.
know.
Order together.
Right.
That
There's
should
4
be
of you.
another fucking.
You've been waiting 5 minutes for the bartender's attention. How did you not get the order together with those 5 minutes? Utilize your
People
time.
show up and sit down without their whole party.
Right.
And let's save that for another
Right.
week.
That's a whole other rule. But the point is that the bartender doesn't get to control the pacing of their work. You, as the guest, do. And so if you are really inconsiderate to the bartender, you're right. This is America. This is how we've structured it. But it does make you a bit of an asshole. So if you choose not to be an asshole and in fact show some respect and do something over the top where maybe you wanted a cocktail but you went whiskey rocks because you saw he was busy,
Right.
then that is a wink. That is a nod. That is, I understand. And there's a very good chance that they're going to like you. Maybe you get some free shots, or at the very least you get some good karma. All right, so we're going to do our rule of the week. We have our handy-dandy collection of rules that we've learned. We've
Over the
learned
years.
many of these the hard way because we broke these rules and then had to establish them as rules for us afterwards. So no judgment if you find yourself guilty of these. We're just trying to impart some of the wisdom we've come by the hard way.
All right, pick one out of there, Jeff.
All right, so. Oh, this is a good one. Rule number 7, don't become king of your own castle.
Dude, that is maybe one of the most important. I mean, that's why it's
Really?
number 7.
Yeah.
It's in the top 10 for sure. What is becoming king of your own castle in your eyes?
You see a lot of times people open a bar for the first time or a restaurant for the first time, and everyone wants to, have the best food or the best drinks and do whatever, but what they really want is to be the cool guy or the cool girl. They want to, sleep with the hot people that come in and impress their friends and just act like a badass. And that's fine if you want to lose money. If you're trying to just blow your savings into feeling good about your ego for a couple of years, fine. But if you're trying to make money, that's the worst thing you could do.
Yeah, and I think I was probably guilty of that around year 3 or so of One Lounge. It's interesting because you're in a restaurant that you own, and everyone wants to meet you and talk to you, and they're asking you the frequently asked questions, and they're impressed by your witty nature, and you start to believe your own shit.
Right.
And maybe you've had a couple reviews, or maybe you got to go on TV and make cocktails, and you start thinking that you're the motherfucking man.
Yeah.
And maybe you are, but that is not something that you want to let bleed into the business.
Right.
I mean, here at the Mirror, which I think is a fantastic brand, One Lounge was not that great of a brand.
Oh,
so
I loved it.
It was great. No, I loved it, of course, but it was my first place. So it more became like Seth's place. Mm-hmm. And people would come in to see Seth. And, is Seth here? And so then it made it so I couldn't, if I was on vacation or if I was trying to live my life, I came to your place and you weren't there.
Right. And if you're a staff member and someone comes in and asks for someone who isn't there, and they're not, and they just choose to leave because they're stuck with you,
my God.
That is disheartening. So, am I not good enough? I am a bartender. I could give you drinks. I'm not gonna fuck this guy. We're leaving. We only came in because
Probably because they
someone else.
thought that I'd buy them for you. The owner would buy them drinks. See, your friends don't want to pay for drinks.
Right.
And and something that we love at the Mirror is if the room is full and we don't know anyone.
Oh, it's absolutely the best. Yes. Because not only they're from a short-term financial thing of these people are not expecting anything for free, although that's very important. It is a business you need to be selling things. But also it means that people love the brand. They love the hard work and they don't just love you. And it's so gratifying.
They don't even know who I am.
Yeah, it's gratifying to have built something that stands on its own and that they can connect with as the business rather than just seeing you. And that means that the bar is about the guests. It's about the workers. Because also, if you're king of the castle and your shit doesn't stink, it's very easy to start pissing off your staff. Because they are going to
pissing
feel
everyone off.
Not valued. They feel like they're only there to be your supporting cast.
Yeah, totally. There was one more point that we said earlier that I wanted to think of. It was, what was it?
In terms of king of the own castle?
Yeah, something about one lounge.
Oh, don't sleep with all the hot regulars.
I'm gonna have to stop you there, Jeff. For a social. If I think of it, I'll come back to it. All right, it is last call.
Last call, ladies and gentlemen. Last call.
Jeff, what's your last call?
So my last call is really thoughts on this week, or if you're out there and you're going out to your newly opened bar or restaurant, wherever it is, wherever you're listening from, just be kind, be patient, understand that these people are coming back, and some of them are scared and some of them are confused, and they're all dealing with a bunch of new regulations that they don't really know. And it was hard enough to do their job before, but trying to learn some new things on top of it, that's hard. So just, show them a little bit of grace.
It is hard. That's a great one. And it is hard because, at least for us, and what I witnessed in Vegas as well, and just everywhere, is that I think a lot of people that work in restaurants are getting unemployment, and maybe they're worried about the pandemic that shall not be named. And, so then you sort of have to make do, the restaurant owner or manager has to make do with maybe having the bar back wait tables, or maybe
Right.
having their intern wait tables.
Right.
Or we were at that hotel, and the server clearly had never waited tables before.
Right.
And I don't think had, maybe fully learned the English language. And so don't ask that person for an off-the-menu item.
Right.
Just don't be like, hey, bud, can you make a salmon with a little bit of spinach on the side? Don't do that.
Right. And right now is the time for everyone to be patient and kind with each other.
Yeah.
You have anything for last call?
I do. My last call, I was just reminded of some chef stories. Or when you were saying how chefs are mad. I don't know if it's now with the whole celebrity chef thing, and the woke social media stuff. People are maybe less mean, but when we were coming up in this business, the chef would rip you a new asshole.
God.
It was terrifying to go in the kitchen. Terrifying. Yeah. Especially if you had a order that with some, some things changed.
How many plates have you had thrown at you?
Oh my! Well, so these famous stories that I hear and tell and we laugh about still, is there's this one chef, I'm not going to say who it was, but he would go, if you fucking bring me one more ticket with a change, I'm gonna go to your house with your family inside and burn it to the fucking ground. and you're like, I'm sorry, chef, I didn't know. He said. And then another one was, he'd be like, what? What the fuck? You know what? You know what you should do? You know what you should fucking do? Go to a store, buy a gun, put it in your mouth, and pull the fucking trigger. And I was an 18-year-old kid.
Right.
The servers would quit because the chef would berate them so hard.
Oh, yes.
And so anyway, shout out to angry chefs. And
you made us who we are today.
And it's fun having food again. I was really reminded of that because, we got some chefs in the kitchen these days. You got a quote for us?
I do. So we're going to go with a Scottish proverb to sign off today. All right.
Okay.
And that is, better a well-known drunk than an anonymous alcoholic. See you next time.
And that's why we're doing the podcast.